Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of League Zero, and welcome to this Week 6 game between the Louisiana Lobsters and the Melbourne Midnights. You all know me, but which direction do I got to point that way? We have a special guest caster, the commissioner special.
I'm trying to put up my very scuffed light source here. I just moved to a new room, and it has a different desk, which means my old lights don't work. So I can't show you my camera, but I have like the head of one of my lights. It is up against a plastic Pac-Man little figurine. And that's my lighting situation, and it might turn off at any second. But anyway, that's what I was fucking with. Hi guys, how's it going? It's been like a solid year or something like that since I've been on a League Zero stream, and when Acri was like, I'm gonna be covering this game by myself, I was like, I'm not doing anything today. Let's take a look and see how things are going at the old stomping grounds. And I'll tell you what, Acri, I recognize maybe half of these players.
Yeah, ironically, these two teams have a lot of people from other communities. I think a good portion of them from like BPL and Tranquility. So a lot of people that we haven't seen before. Some of them, familiar names: Epic Shock, Tannic, obviously, Frick from last season. Rocket's been around, and Capitalism and whatnot. But a lot of new names and faces. And you even asked earlier about Dawes on Melbourne. Honestly, a pretty standout player from what I've seen thus far. I didn't get a chance to really talk about it before turning on the stream, but I think the Midnights are my pick for like the dark horse coming into the playoffs.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically most of what I've been checking in every once in a while on this, on how the league has been going. I don't, but not that much. So like, I have a vague feeling that like both these teams are like good, but I don't actually know how they're expected to stack up today. I recognize, Laser, Tannic B, people like that, some standout DPS on both sides, but other than that, I'm going in blind for the most part.
It should be a fun game. I believe the last time this matchup happened, let's see, was it? They didn't actually face each other in the mid-season tournament. That's funny. So the last time this happened was actually week 1 when Lobsters were still struggling. So that was Melbourne 3-0. But most notably,
that was a different team, basically.
Yeah, completely different team. Most notably, though, Melbourne is currently 2-0 for this split, 6+ for their map differential. So completely undefeated, quick victories. Looks like they're going to be heading into the first map of Busan here in just a second.
Yeah.
It should be pretty darn entertaining, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Busan does offer a lot of different kinds of a lot of different strategies based on the different kind of setups of each of the submaps. I'm still kind of loading in, but once we see which submap is going to be coming up first, we'll kind of get an idea of what these teams will probably be running first and foremost. And Acri can tell me whether or not either team has a significant advantage on either one. But you have maps that offer themselves up to more long-range comps, and maps that offer themselves to more short-range comps. And as we load into downtown, at the start of this map, you thought it was kind of a long-range deal because of those little perches for the Widowmakers, but now it's kind of turned into a bit more of a short-range sort of rush-down comp where you all try and take advantage of the mega room that's over on the right side.
Yeah, sure enough, and no real surprise from either of these teams. They like to play these compositions. Already an immediate dive onto the backline of Melbourne. They're just melting, actually, but it's Dawes who will lose the mech first and foremost, not the supports. The peel didn't quite work out in their favor, but the Lobsters getting the most value out of this. Hack onto Epic Shock, certainly not going to get out, and that's a pretty clean victory for the first fight there.
Really nice target focus there from the Lobsters, especially from Tannic B getting 3k in that fight, already halfway up to that Death Blossom. That is a lot of damage to do in just the first fight, and such a quick fight that was as well. You notice that Frick Drina is actually one of the furthest away from the ultimate. That's not something you see every day just because of how fast that fight was.
Already we have a little bit of a disjointed dive coming in from Joe. coming in, not really finding too much other than a lot of damage to the face. And Dawes will actually take out Tannic first and foremost. Not even sure where Tannic was, but Lobsters have to run back to the points, just kind of hurdle up. But now you have the EMP from Laser. There it is, along with the mines. Not even sure if that was necessary. The return EMP from Optical Crash. They think this is savable, and they do have the bodies on point, but not for very long. As they slowly bleed out members, they're going to have to return back to spawn.
Definitely unfortunate there. Tannic went on a deep dive there. I think used the Wraith form to try and get into the back, try to assassinate Rocket, but there was a really good peel from Stratocaster protecting your support duo and keeping both of you alive, taking out Tannic, and out with both support ults intact.
You have another quick dive coming in on the Lobsters. Joe already has to use that Primal Rage, but he's trying to force out Rocket's Transcendence. There it is. Tannic not really finding too much with that Death Blossom. Actually falls to the Baby Diva of all thing. Dawes does not want to allow this point to flip back over, but might have to, as Midnights are slowly bleeding members. Frick Draina getting a little bit dangerously low, but Turget will find Rocket in the backline. That's a lot of damage from the Discord Orb now gone, but the point actually does flip over to Lobsters despite the stall coming in from Midnights. They look like they want to continue this fight, so quick pause coming in.
Well, Optical Crash appears to have lived up to his name. And has, a relevant name immediately in chat from Archivist, It was unfortunate, though. Optical Crash was having a lot of really high impact on that Sombra. A lot of really nice hacks, was building up the EMPs extremely quickly. And now, not only do you reset the EMP ult charge, but you're going to go back to spawn. You're going to have to rush back into the fight. Which is very much still in the balance. Laser at 96% to an EMP of his own. So it's going to be, I think, a little bit of an uphill battle here for Lobsters to hold on to this point, even though I think it was in their favor up before the crash.
Possibly, yeah. They certainly did have the manpower on points, as we do have Optical Crash coming back in. Looks like Midnights are going to have their best opportunity yet to retake this point. Gusty was not in the best position at the unpause. Epic Shock was staring straight at him after just a quick turnaround. And yeah, sure enough, Melbourne's going to flip the point back over.
Yep. They needed that from Laser. That was a really nicely timed EMP, exactly. I mean, it feels kind of tough that you take advantage of Optical Crash getting it DC'd when they're down that player, but you take what you can get, especially when you're 70% to the point, and one more good fight win will mean you take round one of Busan.
Early minefield, Epic Shock wants to make sure that the Lobsters cannot push in the way they desire. Already forces out the bomb from Target just to make sure that they can push into the point as desired. Laser somehow getting caught out in the midst of that, might have gotten hacked out. And actually the kills are starting to go in favor of the Lobsters. So despite getting into one fight territory, it's looking okay for, well, Gusty is certainly bloodthirsty apparently, because that's the second boop kill in a couple of seconds. And the supports of Melbourne are just kind of left out to dry the beat just to make sure that the Lobsters can fully capture.
Makes me a little bit nervous, though, Akri. Gusty's at the very end of the fight. They did not need it at all, and now you don't have that beat anymore for this upcoming rally from Stratocaster. Rocket's about to have the Transcendence. You only have the Coalescence on the other side to try and mitigate those double support ults, especially since Laser's getting up pretty close to yet another EMP.
Yeah, I have an aggressive Coalescence coming in from Frick Draina, but Melbourne just backs away. They're like, no, we don't want any of that. We can just build up the ultimates. They're going to have the rally, Transcendence. Their Dawes is getting close to remeching, so there was a little bit of a demech there early on. It looks like a dive is getting prepared, but Epic Shock and Peak Kuros, I'm not sure who that is, on Melbourne, are contesting the point, splitting the Lobsters' attention. The minefield not quite zoning off the way they had intended. EMP bomb, a little bit of a delayed combo, but it finds Joe regardless. And Lobsters feel like they're a chicken with their heads cut off. The Death Blossom comes in from Tannic, but it's all for naught as the Transcendence was there. Stratocaster has a nice little whip shot to finish him off. Very late EMP from Optical Crash. He wants to turn this around. They need to if they want to take this round. Do have Turget getting the bomb for the remech there, and actually will find Stratocaster with the melee. Already you have kills mostly going in favor of the Lobsters. Target in particular finding kills left, right, and center. Doesn't even need the mech, and it's really just Dawes and now Laser to stall, but they're already so low. It feels like only a matter of time before the overtime wick burns down.
This stagger has been awesome, and Laser was able to stagger that off for so long, so perfectly, just tiptoeing back on and off the point with the translocators and just being a nuisance. Actually almost got the EMP back online. I don't know if he would have done much since he was the only one that was consistently contesting the point, but very impressive showing of staggering by Melbourne. Not quite enough this time around, but as we head into what is arguably an even more Wrecking Ball favored map with Shrine, I mean, this could be play very well to Melbourne's strengths. Wrecking Ball has so much room to work here.
Quite possibly, notably Laura is not in, Laser is, so no snipers this time around, although Laser does have a pretty nasty Widowmaker when he decides to pull it out. Staying on this Wrecking Ball composition, Tracer Sombra, just trying to find a good perch from which to pressure the Lobsters around, but once again they're going for an early engagement onto Stratocaster. Rocket just nopes out of there entirely. Doesn't look like they quite have the manpower to finish off the Brigitte, and Joe just has to back up. But Epic Shock is a casualty among that fight. Actually, neither main tank survives. That's mini engagements, but Laser finds the better of Optical Crash in the Sombra duel, and it looks like the Lobsters will get that first capture, but it's not a surefire thing that they hold on to it.
Lobsters are doing a really great job so far of just sticking together, making sure that they're there to back each other up and repelling these sort of individual pushes coming in from people like Epic Shock, like Laser. They just can't find a weak point to like exploit because they're doing so good at peeling for each other. That being said, as I say that, they finally do find the opening, thanks in no small part to Rocket finally coming alive as Zenyatta gets multiple picks off, and quickly the point flips right on over to Melbourne.
Two extremely aggressive supports in completely different roles. Gusty versus Rocket, I suppose, will be one of the storylines we follow here. Laser getting dangerously close to that EMP, stalking his prey, waiting for the right opportunity to engage, or maybe just staring at Lobsters, wondering why they're taking such a long rotation. Either way, the supports of Melbourne, they have to expect it by this point. That keeps happening, and despite a quick pick off onto Optical Crash, Melbourne's going to need a little bit of a miracle to make this point stay in their favor. Tanakby certainly wants to keep it, or rather to take it in Lobster's favor. And sure enough, they actually get the flip despite Dawes being right there with the bomb and everything. Not quite able to finish off Turgot's mech. And this is getting really dicey. The Lobsters are already in a good position. They have control of the point. They forced to use EMP on a point they should have kept from the very beginning. Melbourne using way more resources than they wanted, and it's actually Lobsters coming out on top in this fight thus far. The beat coming in as well. Lobsters really want to keep this, and sure enough, they will.
Yeah, they're going to be able to do it. Brigitte is super good at being able to peel for the Zenyatta, but there isn't a ton that can be done when 4 members of the other team jump on top of you at once. It's a tough one, and so the rest of Melbourne has to be a little bit more aware of the positioning of the Lobsters and whether they're in a good position to take advantage of their exposed support line.
Extremely early EMP from Optical Crash will find Epic Shock out, but keep Pikaros. I seriously am going to have to ask who that is. Someone's ult, I'm sure. We'll find 2 with the Pulse Bomb. Laser cleaning up house as well, and it's really just Tanik and Turgot, seemingly as always, to stall out, but you can't stall when you get headshot, and that's a quick flip over. But I mean, Lobsters, 1 fight territory.
1 fight territory indeed, but a very depleted ult bank. They're really the closest person is Tanakby, who is probably going to get up to the Death Blossom so far, but Stratocaster and Rocket have proven that they are more than able to deal with that Death Blossom. So ever since that first fight, Tanakby has been getting repelled by the support line very consistently. Stratocaster and Rocket doing a very good job.
Very split dive coming in from the Lobsters. They wanted to engage onto the supports yet again, but this time the rally was there and ready. Bomb doesn't quite find anything from Dawes, but it does force the Lobsters away, and it gives them enough space to work with to find the kills necessary. Now the Melbourne Midnights are the ones getting up into one-fight territory to contest the Lobsters.
And they didn't have to overcommit. That's the biggest thing here. They just had to use the bomb and the rally, which means they have a minefield, EMP, pulse bomb, Transcendence coming up in just a moment to try and repel this final push from the Lobsters, who really only have the Coalescence and the Death Blossom available.
Oh dear, minefield and EMP coming in. Frick Drana does not fall amidst the Coalescence Death Blossom, but the Transcendence is there once again. Rocket seems to have Tanik's number this round in particular. Target's bomb looking for something, will find nothing. The remech almost taking out, I believe that was a laser, but almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, not in remech kills, and we're going to mech base.
Mecha base indeed, and this is a really interesting opportunity for either of these teams to decide to pull out the Reinhardt base composition if they so choose. It is the submap that is most favored towards that kind of composition, and immediately we see the Lobsters moving towards that direction, that classic Cassidy May Ryan Diva composition. Meanwhile, the other side is going for more of kind of the new age of mecha base with that Wrecking Ball Sigma composition. I mean, there are a ton of little walls here for the Wrecking Ball to kind of grapple onto, and it's still a very strong composition. The question is, will the Lobsters be able to kind of sustain through all of the disruption that Melbourne's going to be throwing at them?
All versus good old-fashioned conquer divide. It will depend on who can take the smarter rotations and better engagements. Dawes already taking a lot of damage, actually has to fly away to a health pack, leaving Rocket out to dry, stunned up, somehow survives, but only for a brief moment. But Frick Drana also out of the fight. Both flex supports now gone. However, it looks like the pure chunkiness of the Lobsters prevails as Tanik gets a pretty gnarly shot onto the Tracer.
Nice little boop there from Gusty. Gets Epic Shock away from the point for just long enough for the point to flip over. That being said, it did not kill Epic Shock, and Epic Shock is being such a nuisance around on the side. Optical Crash is finally around with that flashbang trying to deal with Epic Shock, but still around, still knocking people up, knocking people around, being so difficult to deal with. But you need people on the rest of your team to follow up on that disruption. Right now, no one's really doing the job.
Yeah, Dawes has to back off, and so does the rest of Melbourne, actually. So they just gotta wait first off for their tanks. It looks like Lobsters actually want to push up a little bit, maybe look for some staggers. Pikuros has to be extremely careful of Tanik. These icicles. The minefield from behind. EMP to secure the kill onto Tanik.
I don't know if that EMP got anyone. Did he get Tanik? I didn't see.
Get Tanik, yep.
Everyone kind of backed away backwards from the minefield, and then the EMP came in from the other side. So not the most effective minefield EMP combo, but it does get the job done. Finally, the disruption worked out for Melbourne, but it took two very impactful ultimates to do so. You have both support ultimates, and you're going to need them with 5-6 ultimates coming up for Lobsters.
Optical Crash gets a very clean high noon onto Epic Shock. I didn't even see Laser. He must have been behind Epic Shock. The Wrecking Ball not quite body blocking the way he had intended. Already Lobsters in the face of the remainder of Melbourne, and Rocket just trying to stall with the Transcendence, but there's only so much Lone Zenyatta can do. The tanks might be back from Melbourne, but maybe if they can continue to dodge all the CC from Lobsters, they'll stall for just a little bit longer, but not quite that much.
Not quite that much. You only use the Shatter and the High Noon there as well. Optical Crash getting 2 with the Deadeye is so massive, because now you still have 4 ultimates available. Optical Crash is even more than halfway to another Deadeye. That's actually nuts. And if Lobsters are able to sort of ration their ults, it could lead them to a map victory.
Window, beat, rally, minefield, every kind of ultimate left, right, and center coming out as Lobsters are forced to back up away from the point. The rally in particular from Stratocaster really doing a number for the survivability, good EMP coming in from Laser, but the Lobsters don't seem too perturbed, at least quite as I was saying, if they start falling a little bit. Both supports now out of the way for Lobsters. Gusty just coming back. Bomb from, who's that, Target? Laser? I don't know, there's a bomb somewhere in there, but Melbourne, despite being in overtime on the offense, will be able to flip this over, barring a miracle.
Well, you sure do hate to see that. All 4 ultimates in the bank thrown out by the Lobsters, and they could not get it done against a single EMP from Laser, and just really nice positioning overall from Melbourne. Now you are a lot more depleted. Rocket's going to have that Transcendence available, which should be able to push them through this next fight. And, Gusty gets tried to just speed boost out of the range of the bomb. Didn't happen.
Not quite. Well, the Lobsters do have some extra time. They're getting dangerously close to like 1 to 1.5 fight territory.
Yeah, it's getting very close and getting very iffy here for the Lobsters. Still not really close to any ultimates. Jobadonk is kind of close to the Shatter, but even so, this team plays so far apart. There's only so much you can do. Unless you just catch Epic Shock out like that. I mean, that'll help.
That was Stun City. I happened to catch it from Epic Shock's perspective, and he just ate a Fire Strike at the very end to lead it off. That's exactly what Melbourne needs, though, is to even up this fight. Picaros in the backline looking for more kills, actually trying to duel Gusty, but thinks better of it as that Lucio player has been the bane of quite a few Tracers in the past. However, Optical Crash coming in clutch for his newest team. Beat coming in from Gusty to keep the team alive. Joe, not quite the charge he probably wanted, at least I'd hope not, but it actually looks like the Lobsters are retaining control of this point. They definitely have the man advantage. Melbourne coming back to stall as much as reasonably possible, but just a Tracer and a Wrecking Ball can only do so much. We're going to need to wait and see if the Melbourne supports can come back. Rocket now on the Lucio, but it's only the Lucio on the points. The Lobsters, after a hard-fought round and map, will take Busan.
Wrecking Ball is a balancing act of inting enough to be a nuisance, but not enough to be an easy pick. And on that last fight, Epic Shock oversteps his bounds just a little bit too much, especially with the stun-based composition they were running with the Cassidy, with the Mei, with the Lucio pooping people around. Epic Shock got a little bit too much CC and was not able to stay alive. And without that main disruptor, that main tank on the side of Melbourne, they just couldn't sustain through that final fight. But still a very close first game. Melbourne does lose their perfect stage as a result, but they could very easily keep themselves perfect on a match standpoint if that first map was anything to say about it.
Quite possibly. I'm just curious. I have to look up who Picaros is, if that's someone who we know. Or
yeah, I'm curious too. This account is level 10, so it's got to be an alt of some kind.
Oh, I almost guarantee you it's Monty.
You think? Well, I mean, if it's Monty, it's Monty. But I don't know.
Because he's their Tracer. Yeah, it's Monty.
Well, there you go.
He's their Tracer.
The Inquisition from Acronator comes through yet again. He knows everything about everybody and is watching you while you sleep. I mean, what?
Man, I am the unwitting historian of this league. And it hit me, because like, I didn't even remember that Monty was on the roster until I looked at the register. I was like, wait. He plays Tracer almost exclusively for this team. Like, he was supposed to be an off-tank player, and he just, like, but he, like, off-rolled one time because they needed a DPS, and he just, like, dominated. We're like, oh, okay, he's Tracer now.
Hey, you know, if you can just bumble your way into a Tracer main role on a team, I say you take it. Tracer's fun as heck to play. So, I'm pretty excited to see what else Monty/Pucaris is going to be able to bring to us, especially as Melbourne Meta Knights has decided to take us to Hollywood next up. I would say a bit of an unorthodox hybrid pick. Though remind me, is Kings Row part of the
Not
hybrid map
this,
pool this
not
time?
this split. It'll be back for playoffs, but
Isn't this might be the first time in League Zero history that Kings Row wasn't in the map pool?
I think we did that one season before where we had like different map pools for two halves of the season. It might have been back in like season one, for all I know.
Maybe.
It's like Lijiang, what was it? Lijiang, Rialto, and Kings Row were out of the map pool for this split. And interestingly enough, it's actually Hollywood that has been the most popular pick.
Yeah, in the absence of Kings Row, I feel like Hollywood tends to be the most quote-unquote traditional hybrid map. I think especially on that initial capture point, teams tend to feel very comfortable defending that point because it offers you a plethora of high grounds, both that kind of close high ground right next to the choke point and a sort of far high ground that you can set up a potential double shield with. So that allows people to come up with specific strategies, and they end up a lot more comfortable defending that point. And then, of course, when you move on, you have these really tall high grounds where you can play these long-range hit scans, and that is a DPS dream right there. So I think this, with the absence of Kings Row, I'm not surprised to see that Hollywood is kind of the most picked.
At least in intermediate, I believe. Oh boy, it's not Blizzard World, it's the other one. Not Nimbani, that one was universally hated. What's the other one I'm thinking of?
Eichenwald?
Eichenwald, yeah, that one's played about 50-50 in advance from what I've seen.
Gotcha.
Intermediate tends to like Hollywood.
That one offers a little bit more like unpredictability because it's a lot more open, especially on points A and B. So I think that, at least in my opinion, I like Eichenwald a lot because you tend to see a bunch of wacky stuff get played there a lot of the time. But for now, it looks like it's going to just be good old Hollywood. And I'm interested to see what teams are going to pull out on defense. You could just decide to go for the brawl comp to just kind of get up into people's face at the choke point, or you could decide to go for a double shield to take advantage of those high grounds. Looks like the Lobsters have opted for the double shield part of that.
Not too surprising. They tend to like this, especially putting Tanic on the Torbjorn. It's a really weird pick, but it's worked a lot more than I ever would have expected for intermediate. It seems to be rather stable, especially when you have someone like Mani who can play that tracer and is terrifying at it. Like probably one of the best tracers in intermediate. So it kind of keeps those flanks in check without having to commit someone's attention span to it.
It does a shocking amount of damage, too. You'd be surprised. Laser and Picaros are going to have to be a little bit more careful than you'd think. If you get in range of that turret, your health will be disappearing faster than you'd think. Meanwhile, though, it is a double bubble composition coming out from Melbourne to try and slowly but surely take over this high ground.
Epic Shock losing like 90% of his HP in about 0.3 seconds, which, double shield. Have fun diving into it. Although this can't be a surprise to Melbourne, as Lobsters always do this. So there must be some kind of plan, but I don't think losing Mani that early was part of said plan. You do have Epic Shock up on the high ground, trying to get something out of the nice anti-nade coming in from Rocket, but a little bit scrappy right now as Dawes getting dangerously low. 1 HP, but manages to survive. Actually get healed up at least a little bit. A lot of damage being taken from Melbourne, but they're actually the ones finding the picks. Not quite up to 1 tick, just as I said it, they get it. And not a bad first fight.
Yeah. So huge that Epic Shock was able to go for that initial dive and get out just before you died there. You had maybe like 50 health or something like that, and you were able to stay alive, keep that shield, keep that big body on the point, and make it so difficult for basically just start getting on the point and force the Lobsters to get off of their high ground to directly contest you. That is the dream scenario for this double shield composition.
Already the double bubble dive coming in. They don't really need too much ultimates, although they do invest the Valkyrie and the Primal Rage just to keep Epic Shock alive. But I mean, they keep the other 4. They have Nano Blade, they have the Grab Dragons if they want. They lose Mani to Tanic B. I'm not sure how you would Tanic chill.
Oh my god.
What just happened? I wasn't even looking.
Epic Shock and Mani just double dived Tanic, and You just took out both of them. Just took out both of them. The Torbjorn God just freaking won a 2v1 like it was nothing. I do agree, though. Should have gone for the hammer. And now Rocket follows up by out-sniping the Ash. As now, I mean, the Lobsters are looking strong, especially with this Nanoblade.
Nanoblade to clean up house. That's going to be 3 kills. Make it 4 for Pikuros. And that's going to be at least a good chunk of the way through this Streets phase.
I got mixed up. Melbourne was looking very strong. Tannic was doing the thing. Tannic was doing his thing, but other than that, Melbourne has been rolling through with pretty much no contest. This is really the last chance for the Lobsters to come in.
Oh, Tannic. Instead, no chance. There's only so much that a lone Torbjorn can do. The Bob's only going to stall for a little bit. They're really investing into this. I think the Lobsters might be looking to... Okay, well, never mind. I was going to say looking to swap after they lose this, but they had no intentions of losing this. Bob did a thing, and in fact got 3.
Bob, in fact, did 3 things. Stratocaster, what are you doing? I mean, do you really... Okay, honestly, I would need to see... It was so long after that fight, I wonder if it may have just been faster to just walk back to spawn than it was to offer yourself up to the other team and give them as little ult charge as Mercy's small health pool provides. That being said, after that hugely flashy fight, we're just left with 1 ult on both sides, and that is the Molten Core from Tannic. Could be used very effectively to try and force the other team away.
Oh, huge anti-nade coming in from Rocket, but Epic Shock dies too early to really utilize it. The Molten Core actually doing wonders to keep the entirety of Melbourne away, lest they fall much like their main tank. The res does come in, and actually Laser will take out their counterpart. Sniper does allow for quite a bit of versatility up here on the high ground for Melbourne, and another massive anti-nade coming in from Rocket. They need to figure something out if you're the Lobsters, because these anti-nades are just wrecking them.
They are huge, very much taking advantage. Well, actually, no. Turget is on, and Diva could very much be eating some of these anti-nades, but just has not been catching them in time. Where the heck was Joe?
Coming out of close spawn, and Monty dashed through, and Joe turned around and charged.
Well, you do manage to get the res up, so, you know, all's well that ends well. It's a 6v6, and the Nanoblade is available here for the Melbourne Meta Knights.
Immediately, Valk Nanoblade coming in. Monty could not get more pocketed if he tried. Gets 2. He's not just a Tracer 1 trick, he's a Tracer Genji 2 trick. Thank you very much. The bomb from Turget, but that's only gonna delay the inevitable.
So clean. And now you have the Grav Dragons. This is such a huge combo after combo kind of situation from Melbourne. They could just use this combo to push right through to the end. There is no beat from the other side. This is easy if the Grav doesn't get eaten.
Does not get eaten. Dragons coming in, but the lamp is out. Anti-nade coming in, however, does secure the 2 tanks, as well as Tannic be off to the side. Melbourne's just rolling on through. They said, you know what, we were really close on Busan. Let's not make it that close again.
Not very close at all, as the Lobsters are going to be finishing Hollywood with just about 2 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock. A very quick time on a very defensive heavy, especially on the last point. They rolled through point C like it was nothing by doing a very good job at managing their ultimates and only using what they had to. They never overinvested at the end there, and they had the advantage over Louisiana basically consistently throughout that last point. I was very impressed by that.
And in all honesty, this is what has been impressing me about Melbourne over the course of this second split, right, is their discipline. Because they've been really good at things like the neutral fight, like using their ultimates effectively. Outside of, like, when they verse the literal top of the standings, you know, when they verse, like, Beach Ball or Meerkats, they can get a little bit sloppy. But even that they haven't faced since the first split in the mid-season tournament. So it's hard to say whether they've cleaned those things up in the face of, like, the absolute cream of the crop. But they've definitely cleaned it up compared to their performances in the first split. So I'm really impressed by Melbourne. If they keep that up, this could be a rather quick defense.
It could be, especially with this composition. It is double shield with spam incarnate Hanzo Junkrat. I mean, anyone poking their head out on this choke point is going to be under so much fire immediately. Joe's shield is going to go down in like 3 seconds. So much pressure. This brawl composition has got to move ridiculously fast and take very good advantage of these Metro teleporters if you want to get ahead against this composition.
A lot of pressure onto Optical, already in the mini health pack room, but now they've funneled themselves into a little choke point versus basically as much spam as you could get outside of using, what, a Pharah. But they kind of are at their limit in terms of what they can choose for DPS, and Tanic really stood no chance. He just Wraith Walked, got out of it, melted.
Monty has tire. Monty has tire already. Oh no!
Oh no! That's...
What is such a poorly timed teleporter?
I don't think they were expecting that. As they kind of teleported into their demise.
No. They were like, "Don't worry, guys. We're gonna teleport onto the high ground and take out the Junkrat." No. Oh my gosh. If they had done that 5 seconds earlier, it would have been a fantastic play. Now we got Tanic B and Gusty moving over onto the Far Mercy. This is a much better situational pick here with the Hanzo. With the Hanzo Junkrat, you really don't have a long-range DPS that's going to be able to counter this Skyborn DPS. So I like this pick a lot.
Well, Joe kind of dove in a bit too early when no one on his team was able to back him up and just kind of got stunned to oblivion and melted.
Yep. Did a lot of damage there. And Picaros actually managed to find Tanic B as well.
No.
Has been learning a bit from Aquamarine this season, it seems.
He has another tire. I think that's all there really is to say about it. The Lobsters are trying to press their advantage, but they keep bleeding members left and right. They have to wait until they have enough people to actually push in.
I mean, look at these damage numbers from the DPS of Melbourne right now. They have 10k damage from Mani, beats both Tanic and Optical Crash. That is actually insane damage numbers coming out right now. And here's the next Riptire going along the roofs of Hollywood. I think has Tanic in his sights, but Tanic doing a very good job keeping himself scarce and is just going to go for the chunk damage onto Turget. That is some nice ult charge for Frigdrena and Gusty. Both support ults will be available here.
Nano Pharah trying to build up desperately to that barrage. Optical Crash does take out the Junkrat, so at the very least there is that Nano Barrage, the very tail end of that, and finally pays dividends after one heck of a struggle to get this first point.
Yeah, a really nice flank there from Tanic B gives them the edge when they needed it most. But even so, a minute left on the clock. It is so much slower than Melbourne was up to this point. You've got to have a really good point B, point C in order to even up here. That was actually a really nice concussive blast. Took everyone off of that high ground. Going to discombobulate the Melbourne squad for a little bit, but they're right back up.
And most notably, Mani has now swapped over to the Soldier, locking the leg, so Tanic B does have to be a little bit more cautious about where he flies, as there is actually someone able to deal with that. So I heard a pulse bomb be thrown out, but I didn't see anyone's health go down, so I must have just whipped it, unfortunately, for Optical Crash. Minefield up onto the high ground forces the Midnights to back up just a little bit. Trading blows, but I think losing Epic Shock is probably a bit more valuable of a pick. Joe trying to take down Laser, but not really finding too much there. Rolling around, tossing in a few ultimates. Feels a little bit sloppy, but the kills are coming in. But again, they're not really forcing Melbourne off that high ground. So this
is kind of what happens now when you're playing two very spread out compositions like this. Each fight kind of turns into a kind of a smattering of 1v1s taking place all across the map. At the end of the day, though, it is Melbourne who takes the point here and is now going to get to take full advantage of the system of high grounds that Hollywood B has to offer for them. But That barrage from Tanakby is coming back up. The Nano from Frick is back up
Oh,
as well.
come on.
You've taken out the Baptiste. Tanakby could easily just carry them through this fight.
Solo Barrage's thoughts says, you know what, I'm tired of you, stop eating my rockets. Pulse Bomb onto Stratocaster just to make sure that there will be no Brig antics, and Monty's on a little bit of a spiritual journey with Turget, but it did not end the way he probably intended. Clock is ticking down, but the cart is finally moving towards the end of this Streets phase, which is so notorious for their terrible stalls, and Midnight certainly have the opportunity.
Yeah, they have 3 ultimates to none on the side of the Lobsters.
Oh no.
This could very easily be a very good recontest here, and the main tank is down early. Optical Crash and Tanakby are going to get trades off of their own, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough because around them the tanks are falling, the supports are falling, the Brigitte is standing tall and strong on the point. It is just a mini Turget getting staggered out, staggered away, and look at all this time. This is going to wick off of the clock. They've kept this diva around for like 20 seconds, Zachary. This is an actual brutal stagger.
Just run away.
Oh my gosh, that's insane. That makes it a 1 fight. I mean, they're not going to get him back until there's 20 seconds left.
That was brutal and beautiful from Melbourne. And a little bit sadistic, but I respect it. Because now, I mean, they don't have any ultimates. They might have the bomb, like, mid-fight, but they already have the bongo. They already have the rally. And Melbourne has all the tools necessary. They just gotta close it out. What happened?
Tactical pause.
Looks like it's coming in from Melbourne, so...
It is from the Melbourne side. It's like, okay, folks, so what do we do about this one here? We got ourselves bomb in a little bit, but really not anything right now, and you got to get on to the point in 10 seconds. It's going to be either Gusty or Turket who gets there. Meanwhile, on the other side, you've got both the rally and the bongo. I'm forgetting the actual name of it right now. But the bongo, so Lobsters are going to be Supercharger, thank you. The Lobsters are going to just have every buff in the world as you try and get back onto this point. You're going to get melted down immediately. Everyone's going to have 50 armor that you're going to have to get through. It is going to be a rough situation for the Lobsters to try and get back into this one.
Ow. So I just did a little bit of math while we're waiting, and Melbourne has slightly over double the amount of kills. Or final blows in this case, to 60 to 29. So just barely, but it is over double, which I think kind of tells the story of how this map is going.
Yeah, it is, it really just has mostly, especially on this defense, has kind of felt like, well, someone's gone AFK. That's interesting. It does feel like this map has mostly been, especially on this offense, Lobsters just kind of smacking their faces into this wall over and over again, trying to break through. Oh gosh, excuse me, I'm hiccuping. And trying to break through, and it's just not happening right now.
Yeah, definitely not. The Lobsters have certainly made their name with a lot of like fast-paced compositions, the Reinhardt, the Winston compositions, right? And Melbourne feel a lot more diverse in their comp picks. They like the Wrecking Ball, but they can roll out on the Reinhardt if they need. They can roll out on the Double Shield or other Orisa compositions like the Orisa Diva we currently see. So it feels like if they find something that makes it super awkward for the Lobsters, I know the Lobsters players are skilled enough that they can, but I don't know if they've been practiced enough, if they're comfortable on other compositions outside of like those main two, right?
Yeah. This is gonna be a tough one, of course, assuming that the AFK player on the side of Melbourne comes back. Maybe was calming a little bit too loud, and parents have come in to yell at them, which is a little bit unfortunate. But, you know, it happens, I guess. I don't know. I got nothing.
slowly running out of conversation topics, but I mean, the map is almost over. It feels
About
like it's almost a sure outcome. Granted, I've seen the Lobsters clutch up in worse situations, so I'm not going
this
to
is
say anything
true.
quite yet.
Uh, how about those Paris Eternals?
Well, as of next year, it'll be the Las Vegas Eternal, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but as of right now, it is still Paris, and they have very much
Did
gotten
it?
rid of their entire team, basically.
Do they have any more EU players, or was that group before the last? I haven't been paying attention.
Oh, I don't think so, actually. Cause Dove and Wub were both NA.
Yeah, they're both American, I think. So they're probably getting ready to have the Las Vegas team like
True, true. They're like, we're
easier.
gonna.
Man,
They're
way
like,
to
we're
way
gonna.
to piss off the French fan base. And if there's anything I know about French esports fans, it's that they are rabid. So you just like it's like when they pissed off the South American crowd. They're just
maybe
like gone
that's
forever.
maybe that's part of why they're getting out. Honestly,
They never interacted with the French fan base. Let's be
it's
honest.
true. They kind of were like at the start. They were like, we're gonna make a European super team, and we're gonna represent the region. And then they didn't do that well, and they were like, well, you know what? That plan sucked.
Let's get a half Korean roster. That
Let's
that roster
go.
is
Let's
actually
go
fun.
for a Korean. I mean, that Korean roster was sick, and
I liked how they
it was half Korean, half French. I would have loved to see them hang on to that, but
honestly, yeah.
unfortunately,
What didn't they run with like who is it? Soon and Sparkle for a decent amount of time.
they had Sparkle. They had Ben Best on tank. FD got on support.
God, that roster was
I
so much
think that
fun.
I think they had Soon, but I don't think. I mean, they played Soon when they lost Xe, right?
Uh, I don't think they lost XE. That was Dallas mostly. I think it might have been late
Maybe.
season. I don't know. They swapped it around because I know early season Sparkle was like ineligible because he was 17. I don't remember.
True. True.
I remember they had Nico swapping around from like DPS to tank a bunch,
Hmm.
and then I think they no, they had Hanbin at some point. I don't know. That season 3 is a blur to me. That was a fun
True.
season though.
All I can't believe Young and Beautiful is back. That's crazy.
Are they? Yeah.
Yeah, they took over GeForce.
Oh. I didn't hear about that. I don't go on Twitter enough.
Well, that's why you got me. And then Ex Oblivion has Shockwave and Psycho now, so that's a
Oh,
crazy
that's just nasty
DPS
for
line.
contenders.
Yeah,
They're
right.
smurfing. They're smurfing.
They're gonna own. I feel like they've got to just go nuts.
That's like when Philadelphia put like Poco, EQO, Shockwave, and European contenders to keep them like entertained, and they just dominated.
Yeah, they just owned everyone. It was crazy. Let me see what else has happened recently in contenders news. I mean, of course, we got. I mean, Luke, Mino, and Rack Attack. I'm actually really excited to see them in
Okay,
Overwatch League.
like
They've been.
normal Overwatch League chat is not ready for Rack Attack's family. I saw.
they're
I
gonna
forgot.
take over YouTube chat.
It's the most
30,000
wholesome
people.
spam ever.
Yes. So excited for that.
Man, I hope they do well. I will miss the old Paris Eternal roster though from season 4. I really enjoyed that roster. They were such a
That was
fun dark horse.
it was a really cool story to see
Yeah.
all these players that no one thought would do well.
Well,
Just
especially
like
comparing
cobble
them,
together a half decent season.
especially comparing them to like season 4 London Spitfire, who were supposed to be like the good European team, and then you have
Yeah.
these like this hodgepodge of EU players that were like in the upper end of NA contenders, and then they come back to EU, and it's like, oh wait, they're actually really good. That was so fun for me at least to watch. What is happening even? It looks like nothing. They're counting in chat.
They're counting in chat. They started going through the alphabet, and once they finished going through the alphabet, they started counting. I think we've been paused for like, I don't even know. I haven't been keeping track. It's been like 10 minutes. They said Stratocaster was restarting internet, but Stratocaster hasn't left the game yet, so I don't really know.
Some internet service providers are weird. I've had that before where like I would lose internet, but I'd technically still be in the game. So I get back in and it's like, oh wait, you never DC'd.
We're gonna get back into this game after 10 minutes of waiting, and then it's just going to be, all right, and we're back, and the Lobsters lost.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's gonna be it.
Cool.
Like, I'm sorry. I love the glory to the Louisiana Lobsters fam as much as the next guy, but I just don't see how they win this one.
Not this map, and mind you, that would literally be like 1-1 in the series. So like they have the potential for quite a bit longer. I have not been keeping track of time in all honesty, but I think Little usually does. So I would trust his timekeeping.
You know, I don't know if anyone's actually keeping time.
I stopped keeping time when I stopped hosting lobbies.
Fair enough.
Which was cancer, because I'd be like solo casting, streaming, and hosting, and it's like
yeah. I've had my fair share of that. It is not fun.
What's going on?
I'm so happy the teams are. I'm so happy the teams are hosting their own lobbies now.
That saved me and Zach so much, just grief. What's going on in staff chats? Oh, not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Okay, good. We're not touching that one from admin chat. I'm just gonna trust that Aliano's dealt with it. I don't think he dealt with it. I'll worry about that later, because it would be too obvious if I did something now. See, I think the play here, let me just check match chat again. Yes, I think the play here is to just go to a short break, and then we'll come back in, and then like immediately and then immediately watch the map end. So stick with us, folks. We'll be like back in realistically 10 seconds.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, we are back into it. I think dividing went AFK for a minute. So we're just gonna finish up the last 10 seconds of this map. The Lobsters make a very quick rotation underneath the high ground. Dawes actually getting frozen up, so a lot of damage mitigation now gone. But Turk is actually the first one to lose their mech in this case. Both lamps now out of play, but it looks pretty dead set. The Shatter doesn't even get a chance to land. And yeah, pretty much the thing that we were expecting. Dawes finds Gusty with the bomb, and there's really like only Tanic be remaining to even touch the point. No one's even remotely close. There we go. After like, I think it was 12 minutes, give or take, of pause, a little bit over. That'll be Melbourne evening up the series 1-1.
Wow. So we went back in and Melbourne won immediately. Who would have seen that coming?
Yeah. Pretty much exactly what we expected. Mani with the, what was that, like a 4K, I think. The Blade 3K, something along those lines. Good stuff. Expected.
Good stuff indeed. Melbourne did what we expected them to do, so you know what? Good on them. And we have evened up the series. We're 2 maps in, and we've been going for an hour. Let's go! Classic League Zero game.
Oh, yeah, well, that's, I guess that's to be expected. These teams are incredibly close. Either way, we're going to take a very short, real break this time. I have to use the restroom. I didn't trust the game to do stuff, so stick with us, folks. We'll be right back in a more predictable manner this time. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, after that short break. Next map is, of course, going to be the Louisiana Lobsters pick. 1-1 is the series, so we've still got at least 2 more maps to go. Lobsters have chosen Route 66 as their map pick. Melbourne has chosen to defend first. No real surprise in that one. Most teams like to defend first. If they can get that quick defense, all the better.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it plays very well into. I'm sorry, I cut you off, but it plays very well into compositions that Midnights and Lobsters have been running for the most part. The double shield on defense, the double bubble wrecking ball on the offense. I think that's pretty common on both sides for Route 66, so I think it makes sense. We're just kind of going to be seeing a continuation of what we've already seen, and now there isn't as secure of a choke point for Melbourne to take advantage of, which Lobsters are feeling pretty good about.
Yeah, definitely. This map, especially as we get closer to like the end of second point and even third points, probably going to play more into the like face hunter style, if I want to use a really old-fashioned Hearthstone term, which is funny because I haven't played Hearthstone in 7 years. It's been like 2015 or something like that. It was like the Gadgets and patch that I was like, yeah, I'm done with this game.
So we got a Wrecking Ball. I never played Hearthstone. I got a Wrecking Ball composition coming out from the defense, but we do have a Zarya from Dawes, which is interesting. It's kind of more based on, I think, trying to help out Epic Shock, make sure that he has more survivability with the bubbles, rather than trying to be a little more anti-dive, consistently anti-dive that a diva could be with the supports. I think it's going to be interesting. Let's see how that one's going to work out. Meanwhile, if this is a Brawl composition pick from the Lobsters, it is a really interesting one. I think they're just going to get knocked around for the most part. I think this is maybe assuming that there's going to be like a close train hold, but that's not really happening.
Yeah, no, we did turn around briefly to check the train, but no one there. Epic Shock getting ready for the pile driver bubble, so no stuns, but there is a Maywall and a freeze. He just melts. He's gone out of here. Go back to spawn. Good sir. Monty in the back line trying to harass a few people, but not really finding much without the help of the wrecking ball there.
And Maywall blocked line of sight, too, so Dawes couldn't give Epic Shock a bubble. That is such a massive Maywall there from Tanic B, and now they keep on moving forward, though Epic Shock comes back very quick because he is Wrecking Ball.
Either way, you do have Lobsters in a pretty good position. Better than they would have been if Epic Shock hadn't gotten obliterated in that previous engagement. The bubble from Dawes now gone, so once again he's frozen up. Target focus not quite the same as it was last time around, but he falls all the same. Optical crash with the late target focus, and even finds Rocket amidst the chaos. Lobsters feel completely different this map. Optical, chill, I wasn't even looking that time.
Yeah, it is looking really good here. I was doubting this composition here from the Lobsters, but they have been very good, as they have been all game long, of peeling for each other, sticking close together, and finding individual pieces of the Melbourne composition to single out and dive on top of. And it's looking like Rocket might be their next victim here.
He is so low, he doesn't even get a chance to exist. I saw the second they turned up onto that high ground, they were staring him down. He was good as dead almost instantaneously. Laura didn't even get a chance to use his EMP. Lobsters are hungry for revenge after that rough Hollywood map.
I know, look at them just running around on the high ground like they're a dive comp, but they're not. They're just using the Lucio speed boost and taking whatever space they want. You don't see a Brawl comp positioned on this tiny high ground very often, but hey, it's working out for them, and they got 5 ults. Well, right now they have no ults because the EMP hit everyone.
Turgan actually managing to finish off Epic Shock there, but it doesn't really matter. But after Optical Crash, finding 2, evening it up, and actually making it in favor of the Lobsters. You're kidding me. It was such a great opening to that fight. The target focus was just lacking, and they didn't respect the capabilities of the Lobsters. And the card just keeps moving.
Yeah, cart will keep moving, and they didn't even have to use any ultimates there. Partially, I mean, they didn't have the choice because of Lure, but now you... Holy crap!
You're kidding me.
Lure just got splattered onto the walls of Route 66. My word, what a... And then that's followed up with a shatter cancel. Oh my gosh, Jobadonkis just had a crazy 30 seconds.
Okay, well, Lobsters really want this second point. They refuse to be staggered out. Dawes refuses to die, but soon will. Laura finds Optical Crash, which I mean has been the hard carry for the last like 20 seconds, but there's only so much a Lone Sombra can do, and that's a demanding time bang coming into second point. Or
Yeah,
third point even.
4 minutes and 30 seconds with 0 ultimates available for Melbourne. No ultimates coming up soon at all. Or might be sorta, kind of a little bit close to the EMP, but really nothing coming up anytime soon to try and counter the bomb from Turget. That's going to be really good at zoning the members of Melbourne away. This is looking not fantastic, especially if you can kind of push through this mostly neutral fight while you only have a 1 ult advantage.
Already, Lobsters pushing Melbourne off the high ground as much as reasonably possible. Joe gets stunned up a little bit, takes a small journey on the platform, gives Melbourne the opportunity to drop to the low ground, but I mean, now they've just given up high ground. They're kiting rather well, but there's only so many places they can kite before they're in the middle of their spawn. The EMP comes in from Laura and actually does force Joe to fall at the cost of Laura's life. I don't even understand how that bomb got anything, but the blizzard comes in. They've now flipped the script. Lobsters, positional wise, look very defensive, no. And this is just getting worse and worse for Melbourne as the time goes on. The cart pushes forward, and Melbourne's looking desperate.
Yeah, I mean, you really don't have much to work with. This team keeps on using ultimates only to get picked off the second after they cast them. There's no value being gotten out of that Ant Matrix, neither the rally earlier on. And what an aggressive brawl composition from the Lobsters, looking to be on a mission after getting shut out for so long and then being forced to be on pause for 15 minutes or however long it was. This is the team that's like, all right, we're done. We're going to end this one quick.
You know, I like to say that the Lobsters are a momentum-driven team, but that doesn't necessarily mean they boom easily. It just means that if you piss them off in the right way, they're gonna come out swinging like 10 times harder, and that's basically what we just saw. They're obviously frustrated from an extremely long pause called by the other team, so they definitely had a bone to pick there. Optical Crash in particular just comes out of nowhere and kills like 3 or 4 every single fight. Is currently pulling a deadlift, I think. No, close to a deadlift. 3 kills away from a deadlift.
Crazy. It's just such an aggro brawl composition. The Orisa-based compositions tend to thrive off of picking away at the other team as they try and take the center of the map. But they said, you know what? We're the Lobsters. We don't do anything normally. We're just going to go ahead and run onto the high ground and then use the Lucio speed boost and run right into that Orisa's face. And when you close the distance on the Orisa like that, there isn't a ton that you can do as a double shield comp. It took a little bit of extra time to get set up, but man, it worked out so incredibly well. But now a bunch of new stuff here. Double shield on the attack, double bubble on the attack, double shield on the defense. Canopy once again on that Torb that we saw on Hollywood. So this is a bit of a recurring strategy for them.
Before we get anyone in the kill feed, I would like to point out that Melbourne in that last round got 6 kills in total, which is half of what Optical Crash did alone. So yeah, a little bit of a demanding lead there. Tanic B's turret is really the only casualty thus far, but Dawes getting dangerously low on Optical Crash, looking for someone, looking for anything but Epic Shock is the first victim there. It's going to get even more awkward before Midnight as they push the cart without their main tank. The window already out below. That's a nice long-range pick. Mani actually taking out the supposed hard carry as well. Turret doing a little bit of work, but thus far it seems potentially in Melbourne's favor.
They have Nanoblade in this next fight. They have Nanoblade after 1 fight. That is insane from Melbourne, and they don't even have to use it yet. I thought they were going to use it in this next fight to clear everyone off of Big Earls, but they didn't have to. They decided, no, we're just going to roll with it now. And that is exactly what happened. And just on the dive with no ultimates, they managed to take point A, which means the Nanoblade is available for this first point B push. It's going to take them so off guard.
Definitely, they don't have anything to deal with it other than maybe a Brig stun, but as I say that preemptive caster curse, I guess, Mani just slicing and dicing, and that's what, a 5k? 4k. There's not much more to say.
Yeah, Blade got used, everyone else went down. You're running a Baptiste break, neither of them had the ultimates ready, but even if they did, there wasn't a ton that could have been done about a Nano Blade of that caliber. And now you, of course, have both tank ults and the Bob ready to try and push through to the end of point A.
Oh, what
an ante from Rocket has been on point with that on these attacks.
Monty falling, but I'd say Gusty's probably more valuable target. Dawes dying to that high noon, however, isn't great. But it does still seem as though Melbourne is in control of this engagement, especially with Epic Shock tossing in the Primal Rage. And yeah, it's really just the tanks of... okay, well, we have someone who's tanky now. But Gusty lasted all of 3 milliseconds, more like it. What we've learned now is that neither of these teams can defend effectively on this map.
Yeah, that's pretty common in series like these. One team just gets mad and goes off crazy, and then the other team gets mad because they just got rolled, and now they want to go crazy themselves. So finally, though, with some very aggressive brawl gameplay, it's looking like Lobsters are looking to stabilize here at the start of point C.
Bob being tossed in from Lure, but not really doing much other than forcing Lobsters to back up, which I guess is enough value in and of itself. With that Nano Blade, it's getting dangerously close, but they might want to hold off on that until they have their main tank available once again. Even if they do go even here, it's hard to say who has the spawn advantage. Money getting dangerously low. Shatter finding a couple, but no kills yielded from it. Nanoblade actually being invested. 3 already off the bat, but he's hugging a Diva Bomb thanks to a nice wall from Tanic B. So,
oh my god.
The bleeding quelled. Everyone's dying left, right, and center, and Melbourne somehow managed to push the cart.
I mean, the fact that throughout all that chaos, Melbourne was able to get together and organize, okay, we got Nanoblade, we're going to use Nanoblade, 3, 2, 1, going in. I mean, that is so much poise to have in a situation where everyone's just running at each other and trying to do as much damage as possible.
Getting dangerously close to Stratocaster's rally, but they're stunned up, and they probably, well, now they can't, but they probably didn't want to use the rally anyways. They have plenty of time, even if they don't win this next fight. They still are going to be within shooting distance of what the Lobsters captured all 3 points in. But you do have that Blizzard and that High Noon.
Yeah. The Blizzard High Noon combo, 1 to freeze them up, 1 to knock them out, could be huge for them. But you do have a rally from Stratocaster. You probably want to use that pretty early, try and rush down the members of Lobsters before they can go in. Though you don't really have a Lucio, so rushing people down becomes a lot more difficult than otherwise. Instead, you're kind of trading that out for the Baptiste healing. We'll see if that's worth it.
Interesting position to use the High Noon. How does he find 2 with that positioning? I don't understand, but I guess I don't have to if it just works, and the kills are actually relatively even after a few moments. But the Shatter from Epic Shock cleans up house, the Bob for good measure, and the card is most certainly going to be pushing forward.
I mean, yeah, but this is very holdable. There's only 3 members on the point, 3 members away. The rest are coming back in as quickly as you can with the Lucio speed boost, but the spawn advantage is very much in favor of the Lobsters, and Optical Crash has moved over to the emergency Doomfist.
You have a tire coming in to find Gusty, but hard to say who has the advantage. Never mind, Melbourne has a clear advantage. No one's on the card to touch. Optical Crash coming in dangerously late with the Doomfist. Does manage to stall for just a brief moment, but about a minute and some change. No, Lobsters are attempting to come back. They lose the lamp almost immediately, though. Both supports are back, but there's only so much they can do. Joe now on the points, but the kills are firmly in favor of Melbourne with a double dynamite kill in just under a minute and like 15 seconds difference.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty respectable 3rd-point hold from the side of Lobsters. They were able to pretty much have that time bank, but still very respectable attack from Melbourne thanks to a blazing start on points A and B. Gets them more than enough time to do a lot of damage here on this attack, especially riding the momentum of that 3rd-point win here. I'm curious to see if there's going to be any differences in the comps the second time around, or if we're going to be seeing the same old stuff from both sides, which would be fair. because, it worked on both sides. And it's looking like, yeah, I mean, on the side of the Melbourne Midnights, you're kind of going right back for that double bubble Nano Blade composition. And on the other side, instead of an Orisa-based composition, you're going back towards that Brawl, back towards that Reinhardt that works so well on the attack, trying to make it work on the defense as well.
So both of these teams have resigned to the fact that the Orisa is just not going to work for them here. And they're going to just stick with best defense is a good offense, I suppose, is the best way to put it. Now, do you think, or I guess do you hope that Melbourne is going to check for the close hold? Obviously,
yeah, this is a very... Yeah, the close point chokehold didn't happen. Didn't happen as much last time. Didn't happen at all last time. It has clearly taken him off guard. But Joe Badonk, I mean, you can't overstep your bounds here, right? Stay behind the cover of the train. The goal isn't to push them into spawn. The goal is to make sure that the point doesn't move. By just trying to chase them into spawn, you open yourself up to damage from so many different angles. It would have been better off to just stay in the train and try and contest the point. Unfortunately, does not happen, and the point gets moving.
And already, thankfully for the Lobsters, they will have plenty of time to get back in at least one more contest before first point is really in danger of being captured. But you can't lose Tanakby like that! Mid-rotation, the Mei now gone, a huge amount of utility just out of here. It's going to be up to Optical Crash, but he's taking a little bit of a nap. And the rest of the Lobsters are stuck in this tiny little corridor. There's only so much they can do. Laura first off the point, but I mean, he can just chill. He has the Bob.
Yeah. This is looking a little scary here. If you're able to take point A, I mean, that is a sizable objective here and something that is very holdable for 3 minutes on the defense. There is going to be one more hold attempt here from the side of the Lobsters, but they get jumped on immediately with the bomb.
Monty has the blade, but doesn't even need to use it. They probably just want to save that for another time. The Bob, no reason to hold on to it in this case. Like you said, dividing, and that's first point. I mean, they're in overtime, but they have Nano Blade, they have Rally, they have literally everything besides the Bob.
It's such a good situation. You could probably use these ultimates to win 2, maybe even 3 more fights if you're super efficient with it. On the other side, Gusty is only about 60% of the way to the beat, so there's going to be nothing really other than the Immortality Field to deal with the Nano Blade, and that's only going to be able to do so much.
A little bit of a cheeky flank from Laura, but it's Mani with the Nano Blade who will put in the most amount of pressure onto the Lobsters, only finding one final blow, but certainly did a lot of damage to the rest of Lobsters and forced them out into awkward positions. The cart keeps moving, and they still have 2 ultimates, the Rally and the Grab.
Look at Joe Badonk's lifeless corpse just getting dragged along by the payload. That is so brutal. That's such a brutal image. But it does eventually go away because Joe Badonk is back up and ready to try and end this attack right here, right now. And this is the best time to do it. 5 ultimates coming on the line for the Lobsters. They should have the manpower and the firepower needed to finally clear the Men Knights off the point.
Have the Graviton Surge and the Rally coming in, but Stratocaster falls almost immediately. They're not going to get the most value out of that armor. And this is looking like the end of the road for this offense, barring a miracle, but Melbourne certainly do not have the spawn advantage. Very good push, regardless.
Yeah, for about a minute, it was about a minute 45 seconds, a very, very, very good push and gives you plenty of opportunities to hold the Lobsters to a lesser overtime attack to try and take the lead and go up to series point here. For the Melbourne Midnights, they put themselves in a fantastic position, but they do have to hold here for 3 minutes, and considering that's how far they went with a little less than 2, it is very doable for the Lobsters to beat them here, especially considering how quickly they took their attack the first time around.
Definitely seeing a little bit of a, well, potentially different look from Melbourne now in their defense. Wrecking Ball composition going back to old reliable, I guess. In a sense, they do have different DPS, and I don't think the Lobsters are memeing at all about their composition. This is probably what they're running out on. I'd be shocked if Turk came out with the Roadhog, in all honesty, but maybe that's just in case the close hold is happening, which obviously it isn't.
Yeah, go for that early hook, see if you can get a quick pick, and then move over onto the D.Va, I'd imagine is the plan. I'm also interested to see the Reaper Cassidy DPS composition. Usually you'd want to see someone who's a little more CC focused, but this is a very much a front-heavy, damage-focused composition coming out from the Lobsters, trying to melt down tanks as quickly as possible. Epic Shock has to be very careful that you aren't caught out by that flashbang from Optical Crash, or else you're going to get melted down so quick.
Already the flashbang is out, so Epic Shock can dive in. No Brig to worry about, so that's really the only stun in the book, but he does have to worry about the incoming damage. That's the main tank now gone, and Lobsters have claimed the undercarriage of this garage, gas station, whatever you'd like to call it. Either way, Epic Shock has to swap over to the Battle Cow, and things are looking a little bit awkward for Melbourne already. Only a minute into this 3-minute defense for them.
Yeah, Epic Shock has this weird habit on Wrecking Ball where he'll just kind of go in and do some good disruption, but didn't seem to really think about or plan out an escape plan beforehand, so he's just kind of awkwardly rolling away as the rest of the team melts him down. It's a little weird.
Oh, wow, early EMP built by Lore, and they decide to use it almost immediately in a very dicey fight, but it does help them get through it without losing any further members.
A fantastic fight there. Fantastic early EMP buildup from Lore. Mani also has the Riptire ready. Both supportals coming up, and you have fantastic positioning here. Now you can hang up here on top of Big Girls, and the Lobsters kind of have to contest you and clear you off of the top of that gas station for you to be able to really finish point A.
Riptire coming in, but it's in plain sight. There's no hiding it, so the damage is there! 5K for Mani. If that's not play of the game, that's a tragedy and a half. As Turget getting staggered. I was expecting maybe 1 or 2, but that was out of the question in my mind.
Just off of the canyon walls. I don't know if Frick used the immortality field earlier, if he was just a little bit too late on the draw there. That should have been an easy immortality field usage to at least make sure that you survived through that. It just didn't happen, and that is a team kill for Mani, and all of a sudden, Acri, we're down to 40 seconds. This could be last fight.
Lobsters do have some ultimates, but Rocket, crucially, does have that Transcendence. That's basically borderline invulnerability for Melbourne for a few moments there. High Noon finds absolutely nil, nada, nothing, but the bomb does. Tannic cleaning up house, and this is looking more and more like first point for the Lobsters, but that is only half of their struggle because they're going to be in overtime. They got quite a ways into second point to push through.
Yeah, and you had to use so many of the ultimates in your arsenal in order to do so. Melbourne, on the other side, though, you have the Riptire, you have the Supercharger available to you. The Bob is coming up in just a moment. It'll definitely be up by the time the cart nears that golden box of victory. And all you really have on the other side is that is the Blizzard from Tannic coming up kind of soon, but you got to hit a couple of those icicles before you can get that.
I know what Mani's trying to do. Never mind. He was getting ready to mine into the backline and do it to him, as the kids would say. Looking for a Riptire. Probably not going to get the heights of the 5K, but finding even just the Reinhardt here is absolutely crucial. The kills are coming completely in favor of the defense, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is definitely going to be Melbourne getting up to match point 2-1 in the series. One more to go.
That was such a beautiful set of Riptires there from Mani. That second one, I think, was more mechanically impressive because he did a really good job of swerving it inside and outside of that house. This one was crazy.
Oh, the
but
lamp
it's really
was early.
Oh, yeah, the lamp came out early and Rocket took it out. That was beautiful, actually, from Rocket. I didn't catch that first off. Yeah, that second one, I think mechanically was more impressive because he did a really good job of just swerving it in and out of the team. He kind of took it out to try and bait Turget and then swerved it back inside and kept the team guessing up until he finally unleashed it and took out Joe Bedonk. And all of a sudden, the Melbourne Meta Knights are up 2-1 against the Lobsters, a team that, I mean, based on what I've heard, we're probably favored going into this game. You can tell me if that's wrong, but I feel like that's kind of the vibes that I was getting.
I think the average community member would probably say the Lobsters were favored. Personally, I knew this would be close. And it honestly has been. Melbourne has been like eking out in just like the slightly cleaner play, but I think they can't rest on their laurels quite yet, right? They can't rest on the 5K that they just got. They're definitely going to have to be careful.
Yeah, I mean, it is... Yeah, you got to be super careful because like we saw at the start of Route 66, when you knock the Lobsters down, they have a tendency to get back up twice as strong. So it's going to be really interesting to see, first of all, what 2CP map they're going to pick. Akri, what 2CP maps have been very popular in Inter this season, especially? I mean, it seems like you know everything that's going on in this league, so I may as well just ask you.
Let's see. For the most part, Temple of Anubis is the most popular. I don't think I've seen Hanamari yet this season, and Volskaya maybe like once or twice. Mostly in advanced. Intermediate really loves Temple of Anubis. Maybe not loves, but like it's the best out of a bunch of bad options.
Yeah, I mean it is the worst of all the evils. You know, we're within 2 months of not having to play another 2CP game in our lives. I'm very excited about that one. I know we're all counting down the days. But for now, I think Temple of Anubis would be a very good pick for both sides. I think it, again, plays very well into the kinds of compositions we've been playing. It'll definitely let Mani keep on playing that Junkrat, which, I mean, at this point, why not, right?
Yeah, right.
You know, just feed the hot hand, in my opinion. I think... It is, of course, Lobster's pick, so you might want to try and go away from that map so that it's maybe not as easy for Mani to play those pocket... I say pocket picks, but just the picks that have been giving Melbourne Meta Knights the most value. So we'll see what the Lobsters decide to roll with. But I think there's a lot of mind games going on in this one. What gives you the best options and what puts the Meta Knights at the biggest disadvantage here?
Yeah, definitely. I think I wouldn't be shocked if they opt to not run Temple of Anubis just because Mani has looked so comfortable in the Junkrat. I mean, ignoring just the really nice rip tires at the very end there, he was doing a lot of work even without the ultimates. So I it's hard to say, right? I would almost guess they're not going to run Volskaya because traditionally that's more of like a sniper-heavy map. Okay, no, they just choose Anubis. I was going to say because Midnights swap in a laser for Lurer once again.
I guess it's kind of the devil you know versus the devil you don't kind of situation. You don't really know what's going to happen if you roll onto Hanamura, but you've been playing Anubis all season long. You're comfortable on it. Let's just run it. And also, Optical is going to get traded out here for Altair, coming in for the first time this match. Is this kind of a 2CP specialist kind of situation?
I know I've seen Altair like once or twice, so it probably is like a select few kind of like map situations. What they play, I honestly don't remember. I know Tanic swaps a lot between like hit scan and flex DPS, so...
Sure.
This might be one of those situations. Again, I haven't seen Altair play enough that I know off the top of my head, other than that they are like one of those few map specialists. Actually, I think I do recall them on Temple of Anubis at least once, and maybe like another 2CP, so who knows, we'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Laser going on the other side. If you Anubis isn't quite the most sniper heavy map, but I have seen it done. It has been played. And Laser would be the perfect person to get it done. I've seen this person pop off on hit scan over and over again. So I would say go for it. But that's just because I want to see it, and I think it would be fun. Maybe if you're trying to really hard to win a game, that might not be the optimal play. But I think it'd be funny.
Possibly, yeah. We'll get a first look at what Melbourne wants to run out on the defense with first, of course, because Lobsters attacking. Melbourne chose to defend. No real surprises there. If they can get a first point hold, or even a good second point hold, they can potentially end this series sooner than it otherwise would. And double bubble, interesting. Actually, very interesting. Okay, no, laser's not on the Genji. I was going to say that would be very unorthodox.
Yeah, so, yeah, Laser's going to be moving over onto the Ashe. He's going to be taking advantage probably of that back high ground, maybe even the front high ground. You can get a lot of really nice spam damage done with those dynamites if you hit them on the entire team, and that seems to be what it seems to be playing very much into, at least initially, what this pick is from the Lobsters with this Brawl composition. You do have Altair on the Symmetra. We'll see if they stick on to that, but could come up with some very creative compositions to try and bamboozle them, and it might be their one good chance, because if they get sniffed out here, I mean, this spam damage from Laser and Picaros is going to be tough to overcome.
Mani already 10% and counting. The Sim TP immediately finds the perch it needed to, as Melbourne are completely divided and they already lose 2 members, but actually Tanic and Turget fall soon thereafter, so this is getting a little bit dicey. While they do have the spawn advantage, they probably want to win this fight sooner than later. Laser's still up on the high ground, raining death from on high, putting in a lot of damage onto the tanks, in particular of the Lobsters. Joe, incredibly low. Dawes gets to finish that off, and this is looking like a hold for Melbourne.
So, Laser has 2,000 damage, and we are a minute into the game. I mean, that's all you have to say. He has Bob already. He was just sitting up on the high ground, completely uncontested, pumping in headshot after headshot into the mass of Louisiana Lobsters players. That's how they won. And that is how they're going to continue the win if they don't do anything about it.
Running it down mid are the Lobsters this time, though. They're looking for a interesting teleporter. Riptire, once again, looking for, well, someone. No one, apparently, as Gusty finds the kill there. And it does look a little bit back and forth, potentially in favor of Lobsters this time around, if they can finish out the kills, particularly on Epic Shock. There we go, both tanks now gone. And it looks like at least a couple of ticks are going to be yielded. Rocket staggered out. Yeah, it's probably going to be first point. Yeah,
that's first point for sure. You know, good on the Lobsters. Nice acquisition of what the problem was there. Laser's actually going in for a couple of extra pot shots. I'm very curious about that. I mean, it just kind of gives up your life there. I know you come back very quickly, but I don't know. We'll see how if that ends up having any ramifications on the rest of the map. But they understood that Laser was the problem, so what do? They teleport right in his face.
Tanic B with the Blizzard, teleporting very aggressively onto the front-facing high ground. A lot of ultimates being invested, but the Lobsters are bleeding members left and right, and Melbourne certainly is not going to have a spawn disadvantage here of all places. 2 CP is the name of the game now, folks.
Yeah. I feel like Altair has to swap off of Symmetra here. I know you're so close to that photon barrier, but
is it really
Point B is just so linear. There isn't very many like creative sim teleports you can use that the other team won't be able to like immediately pounce on. I feel like you would be much better swapping onto a much more traditional character like a Cassidy or something like that.
Nanoed onto Epic Shock. Mid-rotation from the Lobsters. They're taking a lot of damage. He just jukes the shatter from Joe. Not allowed to get any value from the ultimate whatsoever. Turget actually forced to use the bomb and dies before any form of remech can happen. So the Lobsters are running into this without really any resources whatsoever. They just invest everything. They're probably looking for a full swap after this fight. I don't think they're expecting to get much here. Epic Shock. They do force out the Primal Rage at the very least, but I mean, this felt like a foregone conclusion coming into this fight.
Yeah, this is very quickly falling apart. Now we should see some swaps out from Altair. Yep, gonna move right on to that Cassidy. Hopefully that that flashbang is going to be doing a lot of work in trying to make sure Epic Shock can't just do anything that he wants. Tanic B also has the Blizzard available, so if you can lock up one member of the Melbourne Midnights and secure that kill, that would be an easy entry into point B. But again, you have to avoid this Riptire from Mani.
You have to expect that. Okay, well, Laser's just cleaning him up before before Monty gets a chance to. They're so scared of one DPS that they fall right into the hands of the other.
It just, I don't know. Louisiana Lobsters in the first 2.5 maps, I would say, did very well off of the assumption that you could play these brawl or rush or very close together compositions where you're kind of all in one big death ball, and that together they'd be able to have enough collective healing to outdo any poke that Melbourne would do. And it just feels like that's falling apart here on Anubis. More often than not, they are just getting picked apart before they can make any real progress.
Anti-nade onto the bulk of Lobsters, but the beat is there and ready. Blizzard actually to make sure that they don't get sectioned out, and Mani and Epic Shock both fall. Joe is rather low as well as his shield charge, not quite up to snuff, but it doesn't matter because they're all still alive and pushing it onto the point. But this is where the 2CP really starts to rear its ugly head. Bob is not quite contesting points, so that yields 1 tick and counting, almost 2. But now Epic Shock, okay, just everyone tosses their ultimates in all at once. Another Riptire coming in, waiting for Tanic to get out of the ice block. Instead, opts to take Turget's mech out of the equation. The squish does not quite come in, although it was dangerously close for Laser to almost lose their life there. Not quite 2 ticks, but not a terrible push.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't awful, but the question, I guess, is will, in 1 minute and 30 seconds, will the Louisiana Lobsters have an opportunity like that to get significant progress on the point? You look at their ult charges, and I mean, you got a Deadeye from Altair coming up soon. Nothing else. I mean, theoretically, I mean, some of these players may not get another ult in this rest of this attack. I mean, on the other side, you don't have many ults either, but the defense is inherently at a massive advantage because of the spawn advantage. I feel like that might have been the Louisiana Lobsters' one big chance to take point B, and they just couldn't get it done.
Oh dear, they're engaging onto the bulk of the backline of the Melbourne Midnights. Botanic Bee was asleep for the majority of that. However, they are starting to find the picks necessary, although they're not going to be gone for very long. And with Laser equalizing the playing field, doesn't matter how low he is, or if he falls, he finds 3 before falling himself. And Stratocaster and Dawes are just cleaning out Palace. I don't know. Oh,
hey,
come on.
Just, quick coaching tip from me to the DPS of Louisiana Lobsters. Stop using your ult in Stratocaster's face. Why do you guys keep on using Deadeyes or Death Blossoms right in front of the Brigitte where you can just easily stun you out of it? I've seen him do it like 5 times this game.
I have not even noticed that. That's hilarious. Epic Shock does get a little bit too big for his britches, though. Tanic Bee teleports straight into the trap. Mani, a lot of ultimates, including the raid boss from Stratocaster, is certainly going to be opting for that roll star, main support roll star, potentially. And that's a pretty gnarly hold from Melbourne.
The Melbourne Midnights have now set themselves up quite well to potentially take a 3-1 victory over the Louisiana Lobsters and secure themselves what is it, 3-0? Is it 3-0 this split?
Match differential, yes, it would be 3 wins.
Yeah, it would be 3 wins. I just didn't remember if it was 3 or a different number of matches they've played. But yeah, a very impressive second split that Melbourne is putting together, and they could finish it up here with a really nice attack on point A. And it really does feel like over the course of this series, Akri, they have been slowly but surely figuring out how to pick apart these rush and brawl compositions that Louisiana seems to like to play a lot, and it really came to a head on that defense. Louisiana just kept rushing in, and if it wasn't Laser getting picks, then it was Mani, and if it wasn't Mani, then it was Epic Shock, and if it wasn't Epic Shock, it was Stratocaster. Someone was stepping up and finding the sort of the vulnerable member of the Louisiana Lobsters to pick away.
Well, we're seeing something we haven't seen too much of from the Lobsters now on their defense. Double shield with a Torbjorn Widowmaker. So we'll have to see how that works out. But not the worst composition I've seen. Somewhere... what? That had to be a
He
reflect kill.
deflected Altair's shot back into his face. Body's popping off.
Come on, man. They have families, supposedly. Although Mani is getting pressured out by the Torb turret, and looking a little bit worse for wear now. Running out of options. Does steal the Mega Health Pack, and probably will get out.
Oh, you can't go up there. You got the turret, but you do also have your supports are here now. So Mani should be able to live.
Probably yes. They're not really paying attention to him, especially with Laser now on one of his more well-known heroes on the Widowmaker. But Stratocaster is actually going to be the one to fall to Tracer, not the matchup you usually see nowadays. Usually they like to avoid each other like the plague. Mani getting stunned up, but a huge anti-nade onto 3 members of the core of the Lobsters. But in attempts to dive vulnerable members, they forfeit their lives, and Melbourne have to back up.
This is really tough because this composition really depends upon this dive coming in and distracting the members of the Louisiana Lobsters, and then that's when Mani and Laser are supposed to come in while they're all distracted and pick up those kills. But right now, they're doing a very good job, like they've done all day, of being able to pick up those damage points from different sources.
Gonna boost onto Epic Shock, but thus far he's really just been kited around and stunned up a little bit. Survives and gets to the high ground of the back line of Lobsters, but can't really do anything from there as Winston, so they have to back up. They have to play it safe, especially because they must know that the tanks of Lobsters have their ultimates. I mean, what are you going to do against a Flux? You don't really have anything to deal with it. You have to stay split away. The Graviton Surge coming in from Dawes Blade, not Nano Blade, just a dry blade, but it's enough to do the job.
Yeah, the ultimates came online just in time for the Melbourne Midnights to take point A and give themselves potentially 4 minutes and 40 seconds here to take 62% of point B and win themselves this series. Will it happen this fight? I would say probably not. You've got both DPS ults and the amplification matrix. A lot of ways to zone members of the Midnights away, but you're going to have plenty of chances.
Altair looking for a cheeky pulse bomb, misses it, and actually almost pays for it with their life. Tanic be finding 2 amidst the chaos. I'm not even sure where he found those, but it helps the Lobsters stay on top. And granted, they still have to defend for 4 minutes, so don't get too excited yet.
The target focus was insane. Epic Shock jumps up onto the high ground, dies before he can even put the shield down. Huge target focus from the Lobsters to stop that dive before it really even starts and get to hang on to both the Molten Core and the Amplification Matrix. On the other side, you're kind of close to the Bob, kind of close to the Nano if this fight goes on a little bit longer. As of right now, though, it's just the rally.
Certainly. To ult or not to ult is the question that Melbourne must answer for themselves, as Frick tosses in the Amp Matrix and Melbourne decides, we're just going to wait this one out. No reason to play peekaboo quite yet. They still have the Molten Core to deal with after that. They might have the opportunity. Nano boost onto Epic Shock, so it's now go time. Mani gets melted, though, in the meantime. Couldn't stand up to Tanic B's incoming damage. It's not looking too good for Melbourne quite yet. The decisiveness of their fight was not up to par up until that moment in time. The Graviton Surge closes it out, and that's going to be Melbourne.
They just blew up, just like their chances of holding point B blew up with Laser's Dynamite. A double Dynamite kill takes away the tank line, and Melbourne secures themselves a 3-1 victory over the Louisiana Lobsters. That glory is not coming today.
Not quite, and they even get the Graviton Flux cancel. Tragic. But good match all around. Lobsters lost a little bit of steam towards the end there, but they're still a scary team.
They're very scary. They're very scary, and they showed really good coordination, really good target focus. I just think that as the series went on, Midnights got better and better at being able to identify the weaker points of their composition. They kind of changed up their target focus a little bit and changed up they did a really good job of trying to force Lobsters into positions that put them into an advantageous situation. And I think that gave them the advantage and keeps their perfect, at least match-wise, stage intact.
Certainly. Stick with us, folks. We'll be right back after this short break. We're going to try and get someone from Melbourne in for a quick little interview to cap off the night. So we'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. After a rather thrilling series, Melbourne Midnights takes it 3-1 against Louisiana Lobsters. We have Stratocaster, other direction. The camera's flipped for me. Stratocaster, the main support from Melbourne, here for a short little interview. So, Strato, how you feeling after that one?
I'm feeling good, taking the W in 3 of our games so far this stage. It feels good. And beating Lobsters, a team that's just gotten better and better. I mean, proving our worth more and more, as some people were kind of doubting us, and I feel like this win helps solidify that we're a top 2 team up there with Meerkat, and I'm feeling good. 3-1 victory.
Dang, beach ball slander.
We just beat Beach Ball 3-0.
Yeah, last week.
Oh, well, I don't pay attention to anything. I'm just here on a whim. But I did notice that over the course of the game, it seemed like you guys got better and better at kind of countering Louisiana Lobsters' strategies. They kind of took the first map, and then it got closer and closer, and then got to Anubis, which really was pretty favored towards you guys. So I'm curious what mid-game adjustments you guys made that you think caused that result.
We just kind of tightened up our windows, so like the dive windows, getting in and getting out. During the beginning of the game, on Busan and on Route, it was kind of sloppy. We were kind of going in, staying too long, and dying. But we just tightened up those windows, and especially on Anubis, you really saw it, where we'd be able to get in, get a kill, get out without losing anyone or even taking that much damage. So that was really everything we focused on, and that was kind of just how we won. Obviously, our teammates, Epic Shock on the main tank, Dawes off tank, their combination of just like being able to peel, especially through that like really tough, because Lobsters is still an amazing team, especially at that rush, and just being able to survive that was really how we were able to come back in this game.
All right. Now, I have a little bit of a less serious question, but in particular, around like halfway through the series, Mani started to swap over to that Junkrat. Was that was that a planned thing, or was that just like a guys trust me kind of thing?
I'm pretty sure he said, "Guys, trust me." We just
and then
noticed
he killed
that
5, so like
yeah, that tire was crazy. He just noticed that they're saving their matrix for different engages and just not really using it on as much of the spam as they should be. So he was able to take advantage of that. Get those knockups, especially screwing up those TPs was also a big thing. You saw that on Anubis a lot, but it just allowed us to put out so much damage, and they weren't able to really respond to it.
Well, it certainly worked. Do you have any more questions, Dividing?
No, not really. You guys played fantastic, and I'm super excited to see where you guys go as we head towards the end of the season.
So I do have, I guess, like a half statement, half question for you, Strato, because we do actually have all of the scores in now for both divisions. I'll go over advanced later, so not waste Strato's time. But for intermediate in particular, because Meerkat Collapse had dropped more maps this stage, Melbourne Midnights are #1 seed for this second split. So how you feeling for that?
Congrats.
I'm feeling happy, That's exactly what we wanted. We were able to get it, and we don't have to play Meerkat, which Meerkat are just so good. I don't want to play them if we don't have to.
At least not until finals at the very latest.
Until finals.
Absolutely.
I do have one more question in honor of our everyone's good friend Corbs OW. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
You know what? I don't prefer it myself, but I don't slander against people that actually eat it. It's just one of those things where like I don't prefer it, but I can see how it can be enjoyed.
That's respectable.
All right. Well, thank you, Strato, for the entertaining match, the great performance in this short interview. We'll let you get back to your team and celebrate not only the game, but the extremely successful second split. And before we go, I would like to just go over the whole shebang for the second split for anyone who wants to follow along. The schedule document is all up to date, and that's just what I'm reading off on my other screen here. So Melbourne, of course, is first seed. Meerkat Collapse is second seed. Beach Ball, third seed, so they will get that first round pick of their opponent. Louisiana Lobsters, fourth. This is all very close. Like the third through fifth are like same match differential with progressively one less map differential, which is really funny.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's -1, -2, -3.
Very close, very close.
After Louisiana Lobsters, Blind Eye, and then after that, Engage. Unfortunate stage for them, but there's still plenty of time. I mean, everyone's guaranteed in the playoffs, just standings in terms of, well, I'm not going to go over the overall standings. The second midseason tournament will swap that up a little bit. In terms of advanced, because this one was really interesting when I input the Kingdom Goats Only game. So Red Veil is first. That's no one's surprise. Like, they completely undefeated. They had the golden split for this time around. Second place, Trolley Gang. I never would have expected that. Now, granted, one of those wins did come from a forfeit, but you take what you can get, and they looked legitimately good against against Easy Clap. The other day. I still gotta upload that VOD, but
good for them. Good. I'm glad they've turned things around.
And then technically, if Kingdom had 3-0 Goats Only, they would have tied in terms of match and map differential, and then they would have gotten above Trolley Gang in the head-to-head. But because they went 3-2, map 5, Kingdom is just barely third place with 2 less map differential. Genetic and Goats Only are actually tied for 4th and 5th, so we'd have to go off of head-to-head, which would be Goats Only Yeah, it'd be goats only is ahead of genetic then. So it's actually flipped. Genetic would be, not that it matters, they don't get to choose their opponents or anything, but they're fourth and fifth, respectively. And then Easy Clap, unfortunately, couldn't eke out a win this split, although I've seen their team chats and they look rather motivated to try hard the rest of the season, so who knows. Anyways, I'm going to stop rambling on. Do you have any closing statements, Dividing?
Nah, I mean it was my first. It was my first League Zero cast of the season. We'll see if I end up having time to get on for another one. But had a good time, and it was good to see how things were going. So, congrats to Melbourne for the win, and of course, good luck to Louisiana Lobsters. Very much a scary team.
Definitely, but that is all the time we've got for today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for tuning in. Tune in this upcoming Friday for the start of the second mid-season tournament, where the overall standings have the potential to really shake up, especially those middle few spots. I've noticed in both divisions have a lot of potential, depending on how many teams can eke out a few points here and there. So it could be very entertaining. Games start first round for both divisions on Friday. No idea which games are going to be streamed, but we're going to try and get as many as possible. So tune in then. But until next time, don't die. Thank you.